Or Introduction to Polynomial. So back in module 12.1, at the very beginning, I mentioned something about module 12 is about exponents and polynomial. So here I'm going to formally introduce the concept of polynomial. All right, so couple wording here. Definition: a polynomial is basically a monomial, or the indicated sum or difference of monomial. So what that means is a better definition is probably a polynomial is made out of many terms, unlike terms, that have the same variable and different exponents. So here, if I have a polynomial using variable x, okay, it can be written in this form: a sub n x to the n power plus a sub n minus 1 times x to the n minus 1 power plus a sub 2 x to the second power a sub 1 x to the first power, where all the exponents are positive and the coefficients are real numbers. So this is the form, a general form for what a polynomial should look like. So what we see here is a lot of plus signs. So that means I got a lot of different terms. And every one of these terms uses the same variable x. Okay? So what's all these things that says, a sub n minus 1? Well, those are coefficients, basically. All right, those are coefficients because the number in front of the x, normally we call them coefficients. So the n minus 1, the n minus 2 on the top, okay, are considered as exponents. Okay, that's the way how you look at this weird looking thing here. All right, so basically, what we normally do with polynomial, if the exponent is 5, then the next one after that should be 5 minus 1, which is 4. Then the one after that should be 3, 2, 1 power, and the last one, is actually x to the 0 power. But as you can recall, anything to the 0 power is always 1 anyway. So that's the reason why when the exponent on the variable is 0, we normally don't write x to the 0 power. So we simply write the very last numerical number. So basically, if you ever see a term in a polynomial where you don't see the variable, it's because that term has x to the 0 power. So normally we put that term as on the back, okay, as the very last term. So that very last term is actually called the constant term. So the wording constant term back in module 8, as I mentioned before, constant term before I just said is a term without a variable. Well, the reason why it does not have a variable is because that variable is actually to the 0 power. Okay, so we consider that particular term in a polynomial as the constant term. All right, the degree of a polynomial is referring to the largest degree or the largest exponent, okay? Or they say the word degree, largest exponent of its term after the like term has been combined, okay? That's the largest exponent of, the highest exponent in a polynomial is considered as the degree of the polynomial. All right, the coefficient of the term of the largest degree or the highest exponent is called the leading coefficient. So just look at this one real quick. My example down here. This is a perfect example for a polynomial. 2x squared plus 3x to the third minus x. So here I got 3 terms. All 3 terms use the same variable. But since they all have different exponents, okay, that make them unlike terms. So we actually cannot combine them. All right. So this is a classic example of a polynomial because what you see here is all the exponents are positive integers. Okay. The exponent on the polynomial got to be positive integers. It cannot be a fraction, it cannot be a decimal, and it cannot be a negative integer. All right, and all the coefficient, the number in front of the x are real numbers. Okay, so this is an polynomial. So let's say yes. Determine the following expression is a polynomial. So this one would be a yes. So how does other wording comes in, such as degree of the polynomial and leading coefficient? Now we normally write our polynomial as in descending order on the exponent. So the degree of the polynomial is referring to the term that has the highest exponent. Okay, the degree of the polynomial is referring to the highest exponent. So my degree here is 3. Therefore, this term, 3x to the third power, 3x to the third power got to be the leading term. That means that term should be the very first term of my polynomial. All right, because we write our polynomial as in descending order on the exponent, that means the x squared term should go next. So that would be 3x to the third plus 2x squared minus x to the first power. Okay, so that should be the order. So the degree of a polynomial, that word, determine which term is the first term. And once I know which term is my first term, then the coefficient of my first term, that's called the leading coefficient. Okay, all right, look at this one on the right. See this -4 for exponent? Okay, that actually make this not a polynomial because the exponent got to be positive integer. I can never have a negative. So no negative exponent, no fraction exponent or decimal exponent. Okay, it got to be positive integers. All right, here are some wording here before I continue. Okay, here is some wording. What is considered as a monomial? A monomial is a polynomial with only one term. Okay, and to be more specific, that one term got to have a variable with some sort of exponent attached with it. Okay, prefer greater than 0 on the exponent. All right, so like a -2x to the third, maybe a 4a to the fifth. Those are actually a polynomial consists of one term. All right. Now the textbook says binomial is simply a polynomial with 2 terms, and trinomial is actually a polynomial with 3 terms, which is also true. They're all true based on these definition. But I would like to kind of go ahead and tell you this. When we use the word binomial and trinomial, those are for the wording is really for a very specific type of problem. Okay. So, for example, let me just write it here on the side here. If I have something like a plus b whole thing squared, this is actually 2 terms in the parenthesis, and this is actually what I personally call the perfect square binomial. Okay, I call this the perfect square binomial. The textbook called them perfect square trinomial instead because what the answer turned out to be. But I call it a perfect square binomial based on what what this thing looks like. This thing looks like there's 2 terms in the parentheses, so I call them the perfect square binomial. The word trinomial, when I say the word trinomial, I'm actually describing for a very, very specific type of polynomial to be called a trinomial. So I like to say this type of, I like to call it a true trinomial. Okay, which I made that up, of course. A true trinomial is basically the last 3 terms of a polynomial. All right, what is the last 3 terms of a polynomial? The last 3 terms of polynomial, if I go back up here, this is the reason why I wrote this, I typed this out for you. The last 3 terms of a polynomial is actually supposed to be x to the second power plus x to the first power plus x to the 0 power. Okay, the last 3 terms of polynomial actually has exponent that says 2, 1, 0 power. that is actually considered as a true trinomial. Okay, in the world of polynomials, the last three terms of a polynomial is what I call the true trinomial. So not just three terms. Okay, what's so special about them is their exponent. A true trinomial is the last three terms of a polynomial with exponents that are, or that says 2, 1, 0. Okay. As a matter of fact, if it's a multiples, if the exponent is multiple of 2, 1, 0, that's actually considered as a trinomial. Because if I will say a polynomial here, if my pen works, come on. Sensitive. If I use too much, let's see. There you go. If I say x to the 4 power minus x to the second power plus 2. So the exponent here is a multiple of 2, 1, 0 power, which is 4, 2, 0 power. So you don't see the 0 power because we normally do not write x to the 0 power because x to the 0 power is still a 1. So multiple of 2, 1, 0 on the exponent is considered as a trinomial. So normally we call them trinomial in form. Okay. That's what the word trinomial really means. So a lot of times I will purposely say the wording true trinomial. So every time I mention, every time when I say true trinomial, that means the last three terms of polynomial where the exponent got to say 2, 1, 0 power. Okay. Alrighty, let's try these problems real quick. And don't worry, we will go back to those wording again as we move along in Module 12. All right, consider the following expression or polynomial. The given expression is a polynomial. Determine if the polynomial is monomial, binomial, or trinomial. So since you're looking at three terms, the textbook or the Hawks Learning want you to say that's a trinomial. This is actually a true trinomial too. 2, 1, 0 on the exponent. Determine the degree and the leading coefficient. So the degree is referring to the highest exponent of a polynomial. So the highest exponent got to be 2. All right. So I'm going to write this word down, okay? Something called the leading term. Leading term is referring to the term that has the highest exponent, which is the first. It should always be the very first term, which is negative 5x squared. So what's the leading coefficient? Leading coefficient means the coefficient of the leading term. That's why I write the leading term down so we can say the leading coefficient got to be negative 5. All right. So the reason why I go ahead and mention these wording, other than this is on your homework and on the test, we actually use a lot of these three wording when we actually when students take college algebra. Okay, that's the reason why I want to go ahead and show you these wording. Okay, so that will conclude this brief lecture video on introduction of polynomial. Okay, so polynomial is simply something made out of many unlike terms. Okay, all using the same variable but different exponent. We always write the exponent as either in descending order or ascending order on the exponents. All right, the very last term of a polynomial is called a constant term. To be a polynomial, the exponent got to be positive integers and coefficient got to be real numbers. So that means all the exponent got to be that cannot be negative, decimals, or fractions. All right. And we also mentioned the terminology that we are going to use for Module 12 and on forward regarding to the word monomial, binomial, and trinomial. All right, that will conclude this video. Thank you for watching.